7 a.m. and it's now time for the Morning Watch with Stokeley Marshall.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the award-winning The Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, victim versus criminal. Why can't we protect both? And in second watch, analyzing the repercussions of carnival. For our social media question, we ask, under the guise of development and progress, are the billions of dollars earned from carnival worth it? Share your responses in our Love 101 Facebook page and YouTube channel, also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but first, as I quote.
All right, good morning, good morning. Today's I quote says, success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. And this one is from Winston Churchill.
I agree with Mr. Churchill.
I agree too.
Yeah. With no loss of enthusiasm. Good morning, Jacob.
Good morning.
The first watch. We'll be back after this break.
Breaking the Stigma, Mental Health Matters. A powerful conversation you don't want to miss. Join Dr. Joan Pinkney next time on Family Time as she sits down with guest Caril Powell Booth, diving deep into the real struggles behind depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, PTSD, and more. Millions are affected globally, yet too many suffer in silence. Why? Because stigma still speaks louder than support.
This Tuesday, May 13th, The Rock gets real. Woman, who knew that in our time, we'd be redefining her identity. From creation to controversy, from design to destiny. Who is a woman, really? As we honor mothers, we dive deep into her origin, her difference, her design, and why her DNA is no accident. Straight talk, no fluff, a biblical view from a man's perspective. And in No Time Revelation, Israel, God's prophetic time clock. Is the clock ticking? What time is it on God's calendar? Does everything really hinge on Israel? What will our guests have to share? Join our host and guests Apostle O'Neill Richards and Michael Diamond for The Rock. It's bold, it's prophetic, it's truth. Don't miss The Rock Tuesday, May 13, only on Love 101, the family station. The Rock, where revelation meets reality.
I've got love in my heart and I'm feeling blessed.
Tune in this Testimony Tuesday, Insta Live 1 to 5, May 13, to tap into the transformative power of God's Word. At 1:45, we bring you the brain testing mental size. Stick around at 2 o'clock for daily prayers from our little ones in recognition of Child Month. Then at 2:15, we bring you a life-changing testimony inside the evidence. At 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit with Reverend David Grant. At 4:30, stick and stay for more fun coming your way as Andy Vashti wraps things up with the Small People Show. All this and more will come alive 1 to 5, May 13, with me, Sarah and the Chirpy One, on the family station, Love 101.
Everybody feeling alive. Just the spirit feeling alive.
Happy be a man,
Got to be a man.
On the next episode of The Mailbox, we are focusing on the Great Exchange Part 2. A great exchange can represent the trade of worldly desires for spiritual growth and a deeper relationship with God. It can symbolize the exchange of doubt for faith, trust, and conviction. You are invited to join the conversation with Minister Paul Blake and gospel music producer Danny Brownie as they share about their journey from the Bloodfire Posse to Bloodwash Servants of God. The Mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Partridge Company Limited. That's Wednesday, May 14 at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station Love 101. The Mailbox, Monday.
On the next Campus Connection, we will be focusing on childcare and fostering. Foster care in Jamaica is a vital service provided to children in need, governed by the Child Care and Protection Act. What can we do to help our children in need receive a loving home? You are invited to join the conversation with Karen Fraser-Williams, Director for the Child Foster Care, part of Family Life Ministries, and a member of the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, as they share about the importance of fostering. And you don't want to miss our honor roll guest, Brianna Powell, biochemistry student at the University of the West Indies. Campus Connection is brought to you by Heart NSTA Trust. Skill is power. That's Campus Connection, Tuesday, May 13 at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station Love 101.
News are going on from campus. Come on, let me walk one. Campus connection, take a data one down. I'm gonna sing of the goodness.
Get your CC Wine and tickets right here at Love 101, 821 Hagley Park Road. $6,000 regular and $20,000 VIP. Don't miss out! These rates are only valid until Saturday, May 31.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm Stokeley Marshall. Now it almost seems as if there's a toss-up where we are expected to consider the rights of the alleged criminals over and above the victims. And this is particularly so where we have a lot of advocacy for persons who are alleged to have committed serious crimes. But what about the rights of the victims? What about the victims? And people ask questions such as, you know them do it, why are you protecting them? But why do you have to pick one group over the other? Should it be the victims over the perpetrators or alleged perpetrators, or should it be the alleged perpetrators over the victims? Do you need to pick a side? Well, we have as our guest this morning to have a discussion about this apologies, Reverend Michael Aiken, Associate Pastor, Fellowship Tabernacle, Kingston, Director, Gideon Educational Center. We hope to have online with us as well, Attorney at Law Lloyd Shackelford. Reverend Aiken, good morning. Are you with us, Reverend Aiken? I think you're with us. Yes? Maybe we need to try.
Say it again, I'm not hearing clearly.
Okay, well, we're hearing you now very clearly, Reverend Aiken. We're hearing you very, very clearly. Are you hearing us clearly?
Yes, hearing you now.
Excellent, wonderful. Now, does it have to be one set of persons over the other? Does it have to be the victims and ignore the rights of the alleged perpetrators, or the vice versa? Typically, we hear a lot about the rights of the persons who are accused of committing crimes, and it's almost as if the victims are sort of forgotten. Reverend Aiken.
Well, whether victim or perpetrator, I believe once you're a citizen of Jamaica, due process is your right. And of course, we can't at any time infringe on that, or we should try not to. And I understand the emotions involved when a perpetrator does something that hurts an individual or a community. We want to right away, of course, take them straight to what we think is justice, which is why vigilantism seems such an attractive option. But a nation can't be built on those kinds uh, of issues. We've got to be careful. Now, while saying that, of course, I know the pain because of my experience as a counselor that is caused when a perpetrator hurt a family member, the issue of vengeance, and which really is is because you want to bring some justice to the matter. But we have got to get away from thinking that denying due process, engaging in vigilantism is somehow part of the process of justice. It's not. We've got to dismiss that from our society, no matter how we feel about what has gone on. You know, a case in mind is what happened a few days ago with the rape, the awful rape of that 9-year-old and her murder. The alleged perpetrator, some persons have sighed and have felt good this morning because they heard he was killed last night. But what do we do if tomorrow it's discovered that we killed the wrong person? Those are some of the issues that we must consider as we battle with the matter of wanting to make sure that when a perpetrator does something wrong, we hold him to justice and get him there as speedily as possible. And by the way, that's one of the elephants in the room that we don't speak about much. Persons like yourself who are part of the legal system have got to do more to move cases speedily because when persons, of course, want to see justice quickly, it's because they think that the system is not delivering it speedily enough. So there are a number of aspects that we must work on to ensure that we protect the rights of the perpetrator and at the same time we remain very sensitive to those who have been wronged and injured and even killed.
Reverend Aiken, what do you think are some of the things that have gotten us to this point? You mentioned one thing a while ago. You know, maybe the wheels of justice need to turn a little bit faster. But apart from that, on a personal level, what do you think, personal level in terms of the average citizen out there, or some citizens, what has led us to this point?
Well, what has led us to this point really is a breakdown of the values that we ought to hold dear. And when I use the word values, I'm not speaking religiously at all, because values really are your culture. What you value becomes what you express as your culture. If we, for example, valued honesty above all else in the nation of Jamaica, then our culture will begin to reflect all the various aspects that honor honesty. So once we have in place values that are good for nation building, values that, of course, reflect our heritage as a noble people. Once those are in place, then nation building becomes easier. But the problem is that, of course, as we live life, expediency becomes a more important aspect of life than it ought to be, because we just want to get things done. We want to move forward. So we will cut corners and take shortcuts in an effort to get things done. And that, of course, brings negative values into play once we go down that kind of highway. So to answer your question completely, I think we'll pay more attention to the values that we hold dear, determine what those are, particularly as it relates to the kind of nation that we want to build. Once those are defined, then we push our people to begin to practice them so they become our cultural expressions in all aspects, in all areas. Once we do that, then we begin a journey toward building a nation that is prosperous for all, is honorable for all, is a decent nation for all.
And what about those persons who might say to you, Reverend Aiken, what about those religious values?
Well, what do you define as religious values? Because as I said, the very word values is usually taken as, well, there he goes, speaking about religion and morality. But I've discovered that values have nothing to do with religion and morality, except if you get them, some of the values you get are from a religious book or religious construct. But there is nothing wrong with embracing values that may come from the Bible or anywhere else. What you have got to do is
Reverend
understand that the
Aiken,
value of
my
values.
Reverend Aiken, my apologies. We're already upon a break. Hold that thought for a moment. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the morning watch.
Purchasing a vehicle is a lot more attainable with a Sagicor Bank Auto Loan. You'll be able to have your loan processed fast and hassle-free. We make it affordable with low interest rates. Your payments are manageable with up to 10 years to repay. Owning a new vehicle is comfortable with up to 100% financing. With a Sagicor Bank Auto Loan, your next ride is ownable and insurable. With discounts on auto insurance, with a Sagicor Bank Auto Loan, you'll be able to own the car of your dreams. Lace up and get ready for a run to remember through the lush True Juice Orchards in Buckwalk. It's the 10th annual True Juice 5K Run Walk, Sunday, June 8, 2025. Let's make this 10th anniversary bigger and better as we raise funds for the Linstead Hospital. It's going to be special with exciting surprises in store. Register now at TrueJuice5K.com. Entry fee only $3,000. Each participant will receive a free 5K t-shirt. Follow at True Juice on Instagram for more details.
Ready to experience 6 times more freshness in your clothes? Try Downy Scent Beads. Its fragrance is so amazing, you have to sniff it to believe it. Try Downy Scent Beads today. 6 times more freshness versus using detergent alone.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch, and the topic is victim versus criminal. Why can't we protect both? We have as our guest Reverend Michael Aiken and attorney at law. Good morning, Mr. Secretary. Lord Secretary.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning to you. Before we bring you in, Mr. Shackelford, Reverend Aiken, you were making a point just before the break in relation to values and religion. You'd like to complete your thought.
Yes, I was saying to you,
Go ahead, Reverend.
and you guess that we must first begin to understand the value of values wherever we get them from. Now, some people are turned off because they think values are a religious construct, but they are not. In fact, values are part of our human design. And once we come to agree what are the values that we should hold dear, and that's something that Jamaica should choose for itself. You know, if I hit you, you feel pain. And therefore, that should be enough to understand that you ought not to hit somebody else. I use that example because you don't need religion to help you understand the value of values. Now, if I happen to get my values from a 10,000-year-old religious book, there is nothing wrong with that as long as those values help build me as an individual, build my community, and build my nation. And that's what we ought to concentrate on. We ought not to lose our way in arguing about where the values come from, whether or not it's biblical values or values from the Quran or wherever else. Let's choose values that will uplift Jamaica as a nation and then push our people and our systems in all aspects of our nation to help our people express those values daily. That is what builds culture. And at the end of the day, that is what makes a nation great.
Interesting. Lord Shackelford, you have just joined us. And before the break, sir, there was a discourse between our other guest here, Reverend Aiken, and myself, of course, the audience listening audience, in relation to, you know, is it the alleged perpetrator that the focus should be on, or the victim? Why can't it be both? Sometimes when you listen to rights groups, you get the sense that the alleged perpetrator is the focus, and you hear less and less about the victim. Lord Shackelford, go ahead.
Yes, let us just say I don't disagree with anything I heard earlier from the other person speak. However, it's a very delicate balance issue concerning victim as against perpetrator.
Mr.
It's a delicate balance.
Lord Shackelford, if I may, there is a slight, I don't know if it's a distortion on your line or maybe on our end, but you sound a little bit distant. Maybe you could speak more directly into your device or something like that. I'm not sure if you could try that. Continue. Let's continue again. Continue. Try again.
Yes, you know?
I'm not sure, but we're trying to see if we can sort things out while you speak. Go ahead.
I can move from where I am.
Oh, okay.
I was saying it's a delicate balance, the balance between victim and perpetrator, and as to where the line should be drawn or how the matter should be resolved.
Yes.
The victim, of course, clearly has certain.
I hope it sounds as if we might be losing you, Mr. Shackelford. I'm not too sure what might be happening.
Okay. Well, moving so we can say if the signal gets stronger or weak.
We're having a challenge hearing you, Mr. Shackelford. Just pause one moment there, Mr. Shackelford, whilst we try to resolve this. Reverend Aiken, rehabilitation and prevention.
Yes,
Rehabilitation and prevention. We talk a lot about some of these things, but do we really mean it? Rehabilitation. Let's start with that one. Rehabilitation in relation to the alleged perpetrator. Some of them are convicted, and
rehabilitation in any ordered society. Yes, that there are citizens rehabilitated. Now, while that may or may not be so, it's a dangerous place to be as a human being. If I think you can't be redeemed, that's a dangerous thing even for me to embrace as a person of faith. We must always keep open the fact that I can win my brother or sister. I can bring them back from the cliff over which they're fallen, or from the depth of depravity in which they're now living. We can't look at someone based purely on how they're expressing life right now. That has got to the basis of how we build our belief system. I can't write you off before I never, in fact, let me give you an illustration. I remember when I was going to school and living abroad, and at a university where I had to be part of a team of persons. And there was a lady on that team, a girl. I just hated her guts because she just was the most irritating person. And if I had my choice, I would have done her a long time. And then I sat down one day and listened to her life story. And at the end of it, I said to myself, man, had I gone through what she had gone through, I wouldn't be at university. I would have taken my life at some point or done something that I ought not to. So it made me sympathize with where she was in her journey in life. Instead of hating her as I did before, it now made me understand, wow, it's a miracle that you're even still alive. And I was now more appreciative of her. Now, I give you that story because quite often hurting people hurt people. So we see a perpetrator who has destroyed a young life. But if we do the investigation, he was destroyed or she was destroyed some years ago. Now, do you just write off a life like that because of their current action? Or do you try to rehabilitate and rebuild? I want to side I want to take the side of rehabilitation because I think that's the heart of the divine being I call my creator and my savior. I think he daily is in the process of rehabilitating people like you and me. So I have to take that side as a result. And of course, from my own perspective, I don't want to be written off at any time. No matter how low I go, I would hope that Sir Stokeley would say there is hope for him. Let me reach out to him. Let me see if I can help him get back to where he ought to be. So rehabilitation of anyone ought to be an important part of what we value as a culture. That said, again, I must emphasize for your listeners who have been through trauma because of a perpetrator, I know the pain and the anger because somebody has done you wrong, whether it's stolen something from you, hurt you physically, taken the life of a loved one. The emotion of revenge is a strong emotion, but we've got to develop the ability to put aside or control that aspect of our human emotions that would lead us down a wrong pathway individually or nationally. Otherwise, we're no better than the perpetrators. Something led that perpetrator down a pathway to choose violence. Now, isn't that the same process happening to you if you allow the perpetrator's behavior to make you choose vengeance and make you choose anger and destruction as the answer to the problems that the perpetrator has caused? You're on the same pathway. You're the same human being on the way to destruction. Be very careful. Wake up.
Reverend Deacon, you have just preached a sermon there. Your words are so, I would say, earth moving in a quiet way. I wouldn't even say we should just say an amen as if it's just a regular sermon. Very powerful words there, Reverend Deacon. Very, very powerful. Because the person who wants to carry out the vengeance could end up being just as bad as a person who had carried out the initial act. Yes, very powerful, sir. Very, very powerful. Mr. Shackelford, can we make another attempt as we wrap the show today, sir? Reverend Mr. Shackelford?
I'm hearing you. Can you hear me?
Oh, we are hearing you a little bit better now. Yes, somewhat better.
Okay.
From a legal perspective, constitutionally and otherwise, do you see, or are you of the view that the laws tend to favor the perpetrator more than the victim? Is there anything to be looked at there?
On the strictly legal point,
yes,
there's a question where you break down an action, where you break down an intent. It's an intention and an action. It is what you do and whether you meant to do it. And that is essentially where it begins. What you do and whether you meant to do it. Yeah. But the real issue concerns, as I am understanding it, it concerns how people react. When provoked.
Well, I ask you. Let me ask you this only because of time, because I see it's about 7:29 already.
Right.
Do you think, from a human rights perspective, that human rights focuses a little bit too much on the rights of the alleged perpetrator?
No, not at all. Not at all. Human rights is there to balance. As the word, as the name goes.
Okay, so we hear you. It's the balance, but is it that some rights groups appear to not be balancing things the way that you seem to be describing? So they seem to focus a little bit more on the rights of the perpetrators or alleged perpetrators.
My opinion is that the rights groups are doing precisely what they are intended to do. It is just a matter of the society has a different. They have a different approach.
Have you heard of any rights groups?
The society believes that
Yeah.
the rights group should address everything. Each time something happens, they should come in and say something and do something about it. But that's not really the way it is. It is, in fact, that if you are, well, a rights group, as you put it, and you are, it's a state, where most of these things are concentrated around the state, whether the state has a proper approach and a proper reaction. And at the end of the day, the real issue is how do you determine what is appropriate?
And
What is appropriate is dependent upon how you look at the thing and the way you balance it.
And in this seconds, well, I think we're literally out of time now, Mr. Shackelford. But would you say that the rights of the victim are as important as the rights of the perpetrator?
I would say that they are as important, but not more important. They are as important. I think the balance should be
But
drawn.
one is not more important than the other. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not putting one over the other.
We have to leave it there. We have to leave it there this morning, Mr. Shackelford and Reverend Aiken, because we are completely and totally out of time. I want to thank both of you for your time and for your thoughts. Listeners, please
I
stay
did
with
not
us.
get a chance to speak.
Thank you for having us.
But very well.
There was a challenge with the audio. We're not too
I
sure.
appreciate that. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, we had some issues with the technology, and we didn't have you in the first half of the first watch.
Yes,
We're not too sure what had happened. But listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Yes, Julie.
Open a deposit account in the JN Bank Savings Streams promotion and save monthly for a chance to win an all expenses paid trip to Peru. Enter now. The time by JN Bank Savings Streams promotion is
7:32 a.m.
Don't let freshness ditch you when you need it the most. Wash your clothes with Downy Softener to keep dazzling everyone around you from day to night. Try Downy Softener now.
Mama work hard, for real. She do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled 2 dreams with 1 Jane Bank savings plan, you know. I further my education and I make mama proud.
Save so you can make the par, travel far, graduate like a star.
Stop wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Jamaica, it's your turn to triple the blessings. Saturday, May 24, Randy Williams Entertainment Center, and Sunday, May 25, West Jamaica Conference Auditorium. Performances by the Foster Triplets. 4 days late, Karen Peck and New River, Joan Myers, and the saxophonist Ricky Niles. For more ticket information, visit thefostertriplets.com. Call or WhatsApp 876-478-3604. Triple the blessings. Kingston, May 24, Montego Bay, May 25. Part proceeds in aid of the Jamaica Christian School for the Deaf and the Salvation Army School for the Blind.
Have to be a man, got to be a man.
On the next episode of The Mailbox, we are focusing on the Great Exchange Part 2. A great exchange can represent the trade of worldly desires for spiritual growth and a deeper relationship with God. It can symbolize the exchange of doubt for faith, trust, and conviction. You are invited to join the conversation with Minister Paul Blake and gospel music producer Danny Brownie as they share about their journey from the Bloodfire Posse to Bloodwash Servants of God. The Mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Foxrich Company Limited. That's Wednesday, May 14 at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station Love 101. The Mailbox, Monday.
How they got man them there? The matrimony look and it on them there. So Lord,
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have here in the Gleaner, and this headline reads, "She was an angel. She was an angel." The start of the school week at St. John's Primary in Spanish Town, St. Catherine, was shrouded in grief. It wasn't the typical chatter or bustle that marked a Monday. Instead, it was silence, broken only by the soft footsteps of children entering through the school gate, many clinging tightly to their parents. Their hearts were heavy, mourning the loss of one of their own, 9-year-old Kelsey Ferrigan. In Loop Jamaica news, we have Glock and several rounds of ammo seized by cops in Maxfield Avenue. And in the Jamaica Observer, man who had been reported missing, killed in police confrontation. Those and many other stories in our various news sources coming up next. We'll read a few submitted feedback from our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is, under the guise of development and progress, are the billions of dollars earned from Carnival worth it? If you haven't done so yet, leave your responses on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes too. 876-9973-125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
This Tuesday, May 13th, The Rock gets real. Woman who knew that in our time we'd be redefining her identity. From creation to controversy, from design to destiny. Who is a woman, really? As we honor mothers, we dive deep into her origin, her difference, her design, and why her DNA is no accident. Straight talk, no fluff, a biblical view from a man's perspective. And in No Time Revelation, Israel, God's prophetic time clock. Is the clock ticking? What time is it on God's calendar? Does everything really hinge on Israel? What will our guests have to share? Join our hosts and guests Apostle O'Neill Richards and Michael Diamond for The Rock. It's bold, it's prophetic, it's truth. Don't miss The Rock Tuesday, May 13, only on Love 101, the family station. The Rock, where revelation meets reality.
I've got love in my heart and I'm feeling blessed.
Tune in this Testimony Tuesday, Insta Live 1 to 5, May 13, to tap into the transformative power of God's Word. At 1:45, we bring you the brain testing mental size. Stick around at 2 o'clock for daily prayers from our little ones in recognition of Child Month. Then at 2:15, we bring you a life-changing testimony inside the evidence. At 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit with Reverend David Grant. At 4:30, stick and stay for more fun coming your way as Andy Vashti wraps things up with the Small People Show. All this and more will come alive 1 to 5, May 13, with me, Sarah Ann the Chirpy One, on the family station, Love 101.
You feeling? Everybody feeling alive. Got the spirit feeling alive.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We go right into the second watch, and we have heard of the billions with a B, billions of dollars that Carnival has generated for the country. We have heard about how enjoyable it was for those who enjoy Carnival and about its relevance and importance to various sectors of society. And some may even make the case that it has improved the mental health of some individuals. So there's much talk about how much fun was had and how much money has been made. But after the music fades and the trash is swept away from the streets, what are the longer lasting repercussions on us as a country, as a nation? And do we consider whether or not there are any spiritual implications for persons who look at such matters? Well, here we have this morning to discuss this topic. We have Howard Mitchell, an attorney at law, distinguished public service professional, and former president of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, the PSOJ. We also have Dr. Bishop Dave Alain. Dr. Alain is the President, Chief Executive Officer, Bishop of Flaming Word Ministry, Justice of the Peace of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Bishop Dr. Alain, Mr. Mitchell, good morning.
Morning, Stokeley. Long time. I remember a bright young lawyer. Long
Thank
ago.
you. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
Good to see you.
When I saw that you were going to be the guest, I was elated, sir.
Thank you. Likewise. Morning, Dr. Alain.
Dr. Alain? Are we hearing you, Dr. Alain? Are we seeing you, hearing you? I think you're muted, Dr. Alain. Well, let's try again. Dr. Alain? Well, whilst we wait to see and hear from Dr. Alain, I'm looking at something here, Mr. Mitchell, in relation to the JIS and their website. And it speaks to the money we have made from Carnival. Just from a purely, can I use the term secular perspective? Do you have anything to say about Carnival, its impact on the nation, on the country, the economy as a whole? And I do know that many persons will go to church on a particular day and still go to Carnival on the next day. Mr. Mitchell?
Well, I'm trying hard, Stokeley,
Yes.
to maintain a difference between what my topic of conversation is about ethics and development and morality and development. In that context, my feeling on this whole issue is that Carnival and cultural forms of expression, of music and the entertainment have a validity, but they have to, in a functioning society and in an efficient society and in a society which provides for as much as possible the broad mass of its people, they should operate within ethical standards, within predictable frameworks that tend towards not only making a lot of money, but also towards developing the human spirit as well as the human body. So in that framework, I don't want to come here and express my personal views, but I believe that Carnival is relevant and valid within a framework of ethics that are agreed and to some extent controlled and regulated by the state or whatever authority we pay attention to.
Interesting, Mr. Mitchell. And Bishop Dr. Alain, are you Dr. Alain? Whilst we wait to hear Dr. Alain, who I think is muted, I would say that every time there are challenges, whenever there is Carnival, I find myself having to, what are the routes? Because I want to drive in such a way that I don't get caught in the...
That's part of the framework. That's part of the framework. That if you don't want to be involved, you should not have to struggle not to be involved.
Yes. In terms of the negatives, Mr. Mitchell, although you may not necessarily have a long list of negatives, what are some of the negatives that can result that you think this framework is necessary to help to cauterize?
Well, I think that some of the negatives are, I'm not sure that Carnival is conducted in a way that addresses what you just raised, that those persons who don't want to be involved in it, or persons, young children, for example, whose minds are not yet formed to the extent that they can qualify what's going on. I think that maybe we are getting excessive in that regard.
I see, and I will...
I think Dr. Alain is with us now.
Dr. Alain.
Yes, morning.
Yes. Your opening thoughts in relation to Carnival, negative or positive? Is there anything at all positive about Carnival? We know that some persons will go to church and still go to Carnival, as strange as that may sound.
Okay, well, I am of the view that our countries, our Caribbean nations, we must develop and we need income. And I've seen from the statistics the kind of income, the billions of dollars that we receive to help us in our development. And you cannot take that lightly, right? Just like in our country, Trinidad, we make over $1 billion to Carnival, right? With investment. However,
Bishop Dr. Lane, only because of time, I'm going to ask you to hold that thought for a second because we are already upon a break. We know we had a challenge hearing you earlier, but we have an issue with we have to take a break at this time. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Me just never did I get through with no work, and me did I get desperate. Till one day me see one ad, but them want somebody for work at a massage parlor. Trust me, the place was nothing like them advertised. From the very first day, I had to be giving much more than massages.
Verify the legitimacy of job advertisements with the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. To report suspected cases of human trafficking, call the nearest police station, 119 or 888-PROTECT. A message from the Ministry of National Security.
Ready to experience 6 times more freshness in your clothes? Try Downy Scent Beads. Its fragrance is so amazing, you have to sniff it to believe it. Try Downy Scent Beads today. 6 times more freshness versus using detergent alone.
You're invited to listen to Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your worth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents, brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
On the next Campus Connection, we will be focusing on childcare and fostering. Foster care in Jamaica is a vital service provided to children in need, governed by the Child Care and Protection Act. What can we do to help our children in need receive a loving home? You are invited to join the conversation with Karen Fraser-Williams, Director for the Child Foster Care, part of Family Life Ministries, and a member of the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, as they share about the importance of fostering. And you don't want to miss our honor roll guest, Brianna Powell, biochemistry student at the University of the West Indies. Campus Connection is brought to you by Heart NSTA Trust. Skill is power. That's Campus Connection, Tuesday, May 13 at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station, Love 101.
Youths are going on from campus. Come on, tell me what one. Campus connection, take a data one down. Hey.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch, and the topic is analyzing the repercussions of Carnival. Our guests are Howard Mitchell, attorney at law, distinguished public service professional, and former president of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ. We also have Bishop Dr. Dave Allain, President, Chief Executive Officer, Bishop of Flaming Word Ministry, Justice of the Peace of Trinidad and Tobago. Bishop Dr. Lane, just before the break, sir, you were pointing out how Carnival impacts your Twin Island Republic. And you mentioned the amount of revenue that the country earns, but you were going on to indicate a couple of other things. Bishop Dr. Lane, please continue.
Yes. Whereas Carnival offers amazing economical and financial benefit, right? We have to be careful that the damage that is done to our social psyche, our moral and spiritual value, the decline, the decadence, and what we are seeing coming out from our wonderful Caribbean nations. Whereas the same thing, and I would like to make this point because we talk about the revenue that we gain and the plus to our GDP. However, let's compare ourselves with with Orlando. Orlando as a resident of, similar to Jamaica, 2.8 million. However, resident, and of course, Disney World, over 80 million people annually attend there, and they make up then close to 9 million to 35 billion, in fact, right? Annually. Now, why? It's because the choice that we have made. We have a rich culture. Our carnival is very important to us because it tells us history, it tells the Kambule, it tells about who we are. But if we sell that out and we turn it into something of nudity, and we turn it into something of debauchery and nudity, what is the message we are sending out there to the world? What is the message we are sending to our own people? I believe that we could restructure our carnival in such a way that it become a tourism wonder, and it could tell our story, and it could lift our spiritual and moral value in such a way that it can enlighten our future generations. We are a society that came from slavery, indentureship, colonialism. If you look at all the different people of the world, whether they are Islam, Hinduism, Europeans, modesty is a very important part of their livelihood. Why? Descendants of former slaves and indentured labor. Why do we have to keep ourselves in such a primitive state? Still the same nudity and sell that to the world, that they're still seeing us in this primitive form, and they come to look at us, and when they leave our nation, they laugh at us because they realize, yeah, we enjoy ourselves. But it's the same like when Christopher Columbus and all them came and saw the natives in their nudity. It's the same kind of thing. So we have to look at value ourselves, and we have to rethink. To all the Caribbean leaders, we have to rethink where we're going forward and what we really call development. Stop telling people that we're making money when we could make so much based on the value and our heritage and developing our tourism in such a powerful way without going down that path. Yes, Carnival is good because Carnival tells our story of Kambule. It tells the story of Kani. Kani mean meat. Val mean leaving. Getting our fleshiness. You understand? Fleshiness. Carnival. That's where it came from, the word carnival. So we enter that period of Lent. We look at ourselves, we reflect. And that is the value that I feel that we should look at when we're thinking about the little jobs, the jobs that come, the little finance. Finance compared to what? To what we could make. I believe, yes, we could restructure, we could regulate, our creativity, our music. It's so amazing, our beaches, our islands are so powerful. I believe if Caribbean leaders should start rethinking the whole of the Caribbean, our 45 million people or whatever, we could become the wonder of the world, But we have to rethink. We have to stop going down a path and stop making people feel a little $95 billion Jamaican dollar. That is something. That's not really leading to the development, because as we say, the question is, at the end, when Carnival is over, our country are developed, we still are the crime, our country keep going down, the decadence keep going down. So what are we doing to uplift our spiritual value? And everything we do should have that.
Interesting. Mr. Mitchell, you have heard the bishop, and under the guise of development and progress, are the billions of dollars worth it? I know that you're taking an ethical perspective as well as looking at the developmental. Mr. Mitchell?
Well, I want to align myself with much of what the bishop has said. The fact is that certainly in Jamaica, and I'm not an expert on carnival or an expert on the difference in the two carnivals, but I'm a graduate at the University of West Indies, so I remember that carnival wasn't entirely what it's like back totally before we were born. Right? I remember that carnival had some greater cultural meaning. And I align myself with what Bishop Lane is saying in this sense, that the focus on material things concentrates on one side of human and national development. And I'm not the bishop here, but all of us have the right to read the Bible. And what comes to my mind is, what does it profit a man if he gains the world but loses his soul. So that therefore,
Yes.
what I think, if we put many of these activities within an ethical framework, within a code of conduct, within a set of values and beliefs that we want for a society that is maturing and growing in the fullest sense, then much of the activities that you see in Carnival, and you know, I understand that people have to express themselves, but much of the activities that you see in Carnival, are they in fact beneficial to the development of the entire human being? And that's why what Bishop Olaine says about the cultural aspect resonates with me, because all of these islands have a culture that is unique and interesting, and when we express it in dance and in poetry and in orally, the rest of the world don't have that. So that I feel, as he says, that not only our political leaders, because part of my thesis is that we have allowed our political leaders to take control of every aspect of civil societal life, and the relationship between commerce and the political directorate has grown so powerful that it has, with great respect, Bishop Olaine, overwhelmed the church, it has overwhelmed the school, it has overwhelmed the family. And yes, there is a need for material financial development, and there is a need to make money, but do not justify that need to make money through scamming by saying, for instance, scamming that it is necessary because people have to live. And that's the ethical framework that I speak of, that we in civil society have failed to exercise our influence and the strength that we have over those aspects of the total society, commerce, and the political directorate, who have a single-minded focus on making money and maintaining power. So it's our fault. We have abdicated our responsibility to influence the framework of rules and standards that our society has developed.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for that, Mr. Mitchell. Thank you so much for that. Bishop Dr. Olaine, before we wrap this morning, never enough time on the morning watch, in terms of the impact of Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago, what you have indicated are the not very positive spiritual aspects of it. What, if any, spiritual, can I use the term, backlash has Trinidad and Tobago encountered, in your view, from some of the aspects of Carnival that you have noticed over time?
What I've noticed over time, growing up and where we are today, is a decadence in our sense of morality and spirituality.
Yeah.
And this comes from a culture. I mean, we keep every carnival become more and more lewd and more vulgar.
Yeah.
And we miss the fact of the beauty of what our nation could be. And therefore we talk about empty treasuries, and we talk about having difficulties in finances, when the richness of our nation, I've written a book called A Caribbean Prophecy. And within that book, I talk about how the Caribbean, the whole of the Caribbean, can make much money based on developing our rich culture and the uniqueness of our society, and not going that way of moral decadence.
Yes.
Many great nations fell because of that ludicrous.
Because of moral decadence, yes.
Moral decadence. That's right.
Yes. I think we have to leave it there this morning, Bishop. Bishop Dr. Olaine and Mr. Mitchell. I think we have to leave it there this morning, because I think we're completely out of time. Howard Mitchell and Bishop Dr. Olaine, thank you so much for your time and for your thoughts this morning on this very somewhat sensitive topic, and an important topic that we need to really address and discuss. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you both. Good to see you. Stokeley.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Mr. Mitchell. Good to see you too. Thank you so much. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues. Visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel, Facebook page, and now TikTok at Love 101 FM Jamaica for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. Listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app and download it today and stay connected to the family station, Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer Kathy Gale and to our guests. Join me tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues. I am Stokeley Marshall, handing back to in the morning with Jukal.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness works to ensure the provision of quality health services and promotes healthy lifestyles and environmental practices for all Jamaicans. The time by the Ministry of Health and Wellness is
just about 8:01 a.m. and you are now invited to listen to Forward in Faith.